Hi y'all, I'm Miss Stacy. Welcome to Stacy's Homestead, and I've been cleaning my freezer out, and I have a whole bunch of tomatoes from last season frozen. I didn't even know it was in there. I remember I didn't realize how much I had, so I have a bunch of frozen ones from last season. The parts that I cut off, the bad parts, I don't know if that's any good, but we'll see. It might be tough. So what I'm going to do is we're going to defrost these, and then the skins will slip off really super easy once you defrost them, okay? And a lot of that juice, the tomato water, will also like come out of it. So we'll get it really thick. I'm going to make tomato soup because I'm about out of tomato soup. So we're going to do that with this, for this batch. Or, because with fresh tomatoes, I like to do squashed tomatoes, so either sauce or soup with frozen tomatoes. So I'm doing soup. And I don't want to stick a bowl of these, cut bad parts off. These are probably no good. So this bowl, I'll feed them to the chickens. I forgot that was in the freezer. Totally frostbitten. Oh well. Yeah. My tomatoes were sitting on the counter, I had little bad spots. I thought if I would have cooked them right away, it would have been fine. But I put them in the freezer and forgot about them. So that's going to the chickens. Because I got tons of tomatoes coming in now, and I have to freeze those or eat them fresh or process them. So right now I'm eating them fresh and freezing them, and then eventually I'll process some of them fresh. Anyhow, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make tomato soup. Alright guys, so it's the next day and my tomatoes are all thawed out, and we're going to slip the skins from them. So it's really easy, especially when you freeze tomatoes, because it gets all the excess juice out that if you didn't want it. You can keep it if you want it, discard it if you don't, you know. And then this peels come off really, really easy. So here we go. I'll show ya. Okay. So we're gonna just take these and pinch it, and see, look at that. It just peels right off. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. See? And then I'll just set it, you know, I'm going to set it aside in my blender thing, because I want to blend it up here. I want to blend it up. So, but yeah, so I'm going to find my blending thing, wherever it's at. We're going to peel all these skins up. Just slip them right off. Now the other way to do this, if they're fresh, is you boil it. You don't like boil them for a long time. You have boiling water, and you put them in boiling water for a few minutes, and then you take them out and put them in cold water, and it shocks them to where they do this. They basically. So you can do that, or you could just leave the skins on and take an immersion blender and then just blend them all up in there. But with tomato soup, I want it really, really, really smooth. That's why I like doing it with frozen tomatoes, because and then cut any parts that I got the stem part here. I like doing it with frozen tomatoes because it's so easy to make smooth, you know. So we're gonna get to all this. We're gonna get to all of this, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay. Alright, so I only did half of my frozen tomatoes because I'm going to do the other half for some spaghetti sauce. So I got more frozen tomatoes to make spaghetti sauce. I'll do that after I do this. But anyways, I got a lot of tomato water in here, and I could drain this off, but because I'm going to be making soup, I want the water, I want the flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep it in there and not drain it off like I would do for sauce. If you're making sauce, you'd want to drain it off. And then we're just gonna cook this up overnight. I did about 100 or so Roman tomatoes in here. They're all squished up. We're gonna put it in our immersion. I was gonna just keep them in here and then immersion blend, but it's just as easy to chop them up right now, so we'll do that. Also, we got these tomato skins, and then I'm gonna probably dehydrate them and make tomato powder. So we'll do that. So you can feed them to your chickens, but I like to dehydrate them and then crush them into powder. I'll do a video on that a different time. I'm just super busy trying to can up now. So alrighty guys, so we got our tomato soup base blended up here, and I'm gonna blend up the rest of them, and once we put it all in the roaster, we're just gonna cook it on low overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come back to you and show you what else I do. Okay, got lots of our tomatoes in here. Okay, we're gonna cook it overnight for 300 degrees, and then I'll get back to you and see how it looks tomorrow. Alright guys, so we got our tomatoes reduced real well, a lot, so it's reduced down a lot, like to where it's just basically the pulp now. I'm going to add tomato juice, okay? So we're going to add 3 things of these tomato juice. Okay, 46 ounces of tomato juice. If you have V8, V8 will work too. Okay, I'm doing this because I only had a little bit of tomatoes condensed down a lot, and the tomato juice just makes it taste really, really good. So I made this several times. This is my go-to recipe. I make it every other year because I make enough for 2 years. So if you need more tomatoes, go buy some diced tomatoes in a can and add a can of diced tomatoes. Stir this. See, it's more soupy now. This is what you want. Okay, the tomato juice just does it. Just cook it on 250 for a few hours, and then we'll add other stuff. Alright guys, so it's been the next day I cooked it overnight with the tomato sauce, and we're going to take our immersion blender now and smooth it out even more, even though we already blended it. It needs to be even smoother here, so we're gonna do that. If you don't have an immersion blender, go ahead and scoop it out and put it in a food processor, but hot liquid bursts usually from those things, so you gotta be careful. Okay, all done. All done. See, now that's really smooth. That's smooth stuff here. Okay, so now we're gonna add our seasonings. You know, it cooked a little bit too much on the edges, so I want to wipe the edge down just in case I have any black stuff. Sometimes that happens when I cook it for a while, it cooks down. I don't want that getting into, there we go. I want that getting into my stuff here. Okay. So now we're gonna add our seasoning. We're gonna add about 2 quarts of chicken broth. Okay, I have a last bag of frozen chicken broth, bone broth that I had made recently from the freezer. I knew I was gonna be making stuff, so I didn't want to can it. I just put it in the freezer so I didn't waste any jars. All right. Now I have, I want to add I have some turkey bone broth from 2019. I like the taste of that in there too, so we're going to add some turkey bone broth. We're going to take our nice jar opener here, so my Pria jar, which they don't make anymore, but you can get them by this company, Cookware on Amazon. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but they make them, okay? But it's a different brand. All right, so a good seal there. Look at my lids are perfect. Awesome tool, guys. Because I like to reuse lids at least a couple of times, 2 times, depending on what was in them. I'll reuse them about 2 times and throw them away. All right, let's add our turkey bone broth. And now we're going to add some garlic powder. We're going to do tablespoons at a time, and these are all to taste, but we're going to start with the tablespoon, okay? Or whatever your version of a tablespoon is. So, my garlic powder or onion powder is organic, so I have to constantly smooth it out. It just sucks up that moisture in there. So, got my garlic powder in here ready to go. And we're gonna put in a tablespoon at a time, cook it for a little bit, and add just as we need. So every time, so I'm gonna put about just a big spoon, okay? I don't know, that could be 2 tablespoons, but just like, you know, a big little serving spoon full. Yeah. You can always add more, just you can't take away. So, and we're gonna do the same thing with granulated garlic. We're gonna do just a bit of garlic, granulated garlic, not too much. We're not making spaghetti sauce here. Okay, and then a little bit of celery seed. We do a little bit of celery seed. Okay, just a little bit. Just give a little taste there. A little bit more. There. Now if you use V8, it might have those flavors already in it. Some people put V8, you can do that. And then, so, we need brown sugar. So let's do about a cup of brown sugar, okay? So I'm gonna add about a cup. I eyeball it. So a cup to me is like a big handful. Hey, there's a cup. There we go. And you can always add more later. So all this stuff we're gonna taste and maybe add more of it depending on how it tastes. Where's my spoon? Let's stir it in. Now, I was debating on making it a little spicy, but I'm not gonna do that. I can always add spice if I open it. Just regular tomato soup. This is delicious tomato soup, y'all. It's so good. This is my best recipe. We're gonna do just a couple of tablespoons of salt here. Just a couple of tablespoons. So, just a little bit, okay? Because we're gonna add chicken bouillon, right? So bone broth. We're at least, I got the rest of this one, get rid of, but I'm thinking about a couple tablespoons of chicken bouillon, okay? So, again, just a nice, oops. My bone broth that I make has this in it, so I don't want to go too strong until I taste it. So we're just going to do, let's just start off with about 1 tablespoon chicken bouillon. If your bone broth already has chicken bouillon in it, like mine, but if you're doing store-bought broth, then go ahead, that stuff has no flavor. Add a couple nice big spoons of chicken bouillon. So, and we're gonna let this sit and cook for a good few hours because we want those flavors to meld and then come back and taste it. Let's see, let me look at my card here. This is my recipe cards that I use. I write everything down. Especially if I do a concoction. This was a concoction. I learn to write as I go because I'll never be able to make it the same if I don't. Alright, so let's see. Okay, I use clear gel or Thermoflow when I can it. But right now we're going to put a stick of butter in. Yay! And a handful of fresh basil, it says. So let me get my basil. I don't have fresh basil, but I have dry basil. So we do a handful of basil. A little bit of sweetness. Oh, I love the smell of basil. Just a little handful of fresh basil here. Okay. And then it says a stick of butter. Let's get a stick of butter. I have my Kerry Irish butter that I love. I can with butter all the time, guys. It doesn't affect anything. And I keep my fats in, and like that turkey bone broth from 2019 that I just poured in. Never drain the fat out of those. I keep it in. So here's a cube of butter there. Put that in there. All right, a stick of butter, whatever it is called. Later it said to do sugar to taste on my card, so we'll do that later. Okay, so now I need some clove and allspice. All right, so here's what we need to do. Okay, while this is cooking right here, we're gonna cook an onion, a celery together. We're gonna cook it in olive oil, blend it in the blender, and then add it, okay? Because that's what gives it some good taste in. And we're gonna add clove, allspice, thyme, and a clove of garlic to it too. So I'll bring you to the stove. All right, so we're going to saute our onions. So I have either 1 large onion or 2 small onions. I'm doing 2 small onions. And then I have 3 large celery stalks. Or you could do 3 or 4 large celery stalks, okay? You don't want to put too much celery in because in canning, if you're canning it, the celery takes on a really, really strong flavor. It will permeate the whole soup. So just about 3 large bangs of celery. So your tomato soup don't taste like celery. You don't want it to taste like celery. You just want that hint. So we're gonna saute these really quick in some olive oil, and then you can also put butter in if you want. So just a dash of olive oil there. We're doing this to release the flavors. And then we're going to add our aromatics in here, which need oil to release their flavors also. Okay, that's why we didn't add them right in the soup. So let's get our flat spoon and toss these around. And we're gonna sweat these down, okay? Alright, we wanna kind of caramelize the onions just a bit, and we're gonna add a little bit of salt halfway through, just to help release that, just a tiny bit of salt to help release the moisture from the celery and onion in here. You don't need to worry about like cooking the celery all the way through. It's just to release the flavors, because we're going to blend it up and put it in our tomato sauce to cook overnight, okay? Alright, so it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and add our garlic here. I got about 2 whole cloves of garlic. And we're going to put that in there. I minced it up already, just to cook off a little bit of that rawness. So garlic can be spicy if you don't cook it. So if you want spice, then don't cook it. Alright. Now we're going to add our aromatics. We're going to add cloves. We're going to these are all about a teaspoon each, okay guys? You don't want it too overpowering. So my teaspoon's about that, okay? And then we got my allspice, which I keep in here. Got a teaspoon of allspice. So I'll put it in here so you can see. Okay. And then we're going to put a little bit of thyme in here. Stir this up. Go ahead and turn your heat off now, because you don't want to burn anything. We don't, especially, you don't want to burn your herbs, okay? So we got a little bit of thyme going on, about a half a teaspoon of thyme. And then we want a dash of paprika in here, okay? There's enough heat in here with this burner off for you to release these aromatics in here. So I have smoked paprika I like to use. I'll say about a tablespoon or a little teaspoon and a half of paprika, smoked paprika. Not too much. Alright, so this is kind of occasion here. You got your Trinity and the Pope. So, but once you add it to your tomato sauce, it's not going to taste like that. Okay, so now we're going to put it in our, I'm going to get this out of here. I'm not going to use this. We're going to put it in the larger blender here. It won't fit in my smaller one. There we go. Alright, let's put it in I'm going to put this in a blender and dice it up and then add it to our soup. Alright guys, we got our mixture all blended up in here, and if you only have an immersion blender, then put it in an immersion blend it. But it makes it easier when you can pre-do it. So we're going to just add this in here, and now that's pretty much all the ingredients, guys. So we're going to cook it overnight so the flavors can blend together. And then tomorrow, taste it and adjust flavor if we need to. Then we will can it up. Okay? You can give it a little taste after you stir it in and just get a little bit of idea. So it's gonna cook down a bit, and we're gonna thicken it up with some ThermoFlow tomorrow before we can it, okay? Just a little bit of ThermoFlow. Okay, let's just a little taste here. Mmm, it's super delicious. We're gonna let this cook. Alrighty, y'all, so it's been a few hours since we did all of our seasonings, and a couple hours ago I tasted it, and I needed to put the same amount in again of every seasoning all over again, and then an extra stick of butter, because I pretty much doubled my recipe. So it tastes perfect, it's good, it's beautiful. And we're gonna put our Thermoflow in now, which is a 1/4 cup per quart of liquid. And so I don't want it too thick, so we're gonna start off with, let's say, 5 quarts worth. So a 1/4 cups 5 times, okay? And we're gonna make a little slurry and then pour it in. And we're gonna slowly pour it in. Then bring it back up to heat, okay, to thicken it. Bring it back up to a good little boil there. And then we'll can it. It tastes really, really, really good. And you know what makes the flavors? Oh, we got one little onion, but that's okay. You know what makes the flavors, really? It's the allspice and the clove. You don't want to put too much brown sugar in because it'll start tasting like spaghetti sauce. So just make sure you put small amounts of brown sugar in. I didn't add any. Oh, I did not add extra brown sugar. Okay, guys, so I added extra of everything else, but not the brown sugar, because it would have just been too sweet. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. And so Thermoflow gets thicker as it gets hotter here. And when you can it, it thickens up too in the canner. So it thickens more in the heat process. So I'm thinking, let's just we'll do two more 1/4 cups. So 6. So that's 7 1/4 cups of Thermoflow, okay? So I'm thinking this is about it's a 22 quart roaster, y'all. And it's not full, but I don't want it to be super thick either. So I think 7 is a good number. 7 quarts worth. I don't want it to be too thick, because the canning process is all about density, you know? So I'd rather thicken it up more after I open it if I have to. I think this will be perfect though. Let's see in my recipe card what I did. How much I put in. I could, if I wrote it down here. Sometimes I forget to write that down. Okay, Thermoflow. So, oh, I did 3 cups. So I did it in cups last year. So, well, I guess that's about 3 cups, huh? There, I think that'd be perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. thickening it up real nicely, actually. Okay guys, we're gonna can this up now. Remember, it's gonna thicken up more in the canning process, okay? So the ball recipe is tomatoes, salt, pepper, olive oil, onions, garlic, but they added white wine. I didn't care for that. You can if you want. And chicken or beef stock and basil. And so I just added throughout the years all the other seasonings, but they have, I use their canning time for the soup, and it's for 50 minutes, okay? So, because I have all the other jazz in there, I stick with that canning time. Because it's the same thing, except I add the ThermoFlow, which wouldn't affect the time. Alright, so we're going to be canning for 50 minutes for pints and 60 minutes for quarts, it says. So, okay. See, look at it. It's thickened up pretty nice. I don't know if you can see. It's thickened up pretty nice. Not too thick, you know? It's perfect. Just a little bit thicker. But I like a thicker soup. When I open it up, it'll be perfect, and then I can add cream to it. Because that's what I do. When I open it, I'll add cream. We're going to leave 1-inch headspace. I'm using some Tattlers. I always try to do a variation of lids. I do Tattlers, do brand new lids and used ones. And they all seal. I really have had really great luck with the Tattlers. So that's nice. So this is as thick I think this is going to get because I let it cook for a little bit. That's perfect. Tastes so delicious. Alright, let's get our lids on here. I'm just using hot water. Okay. I use lid right here. Couple used lids. Couple new lids. Put a couple Tattlers on. Finger tight. these on the bottom.
Oh.
Almost forgot to clean my loops, my rings. Alright, so let's put them in the counter. Okie dokie, y'all. So we got all the tomato soup double stacked in my canner. It's under 10 pounds of pressure for 50 minutes according to the Ball Blue Book. And we'll see what they look like when they're done. Alrighty guys, so while that's cooking here, we're gonna just go ahead and load up our other jars for the next round. So I'm gonna use my 1.5 pint jars and some quart jars. I'm not gonna film it, but I'm gonna process those also. We're gonna do those 60 minutes because they're quarts. Okay, and then 1.5 pints, you would do quart times 2. But I'll show you what they look like after I take them out of the canner though. Okay. Hey guys, so it's all done and it looks really good. I don't think I have any siphoning. Get something to tighten these down. They're already pinging. Let's see. I got my tattlers out. Look at that. Looks pretty. Pretty. I love my jars. How they look on my shelf when I take them out. They're just so beautiful and they're delicious to eat. My homemade soup. Now, a lot of times I don't add thickener to it. You know, it just ever so often I do. And I like the texture it gives, so that's why I do that. But you don't need to add the ThermoFlow if you don't want to. It pretty much thickens real good on its own. You just gotta cook it down a bit more. eating that. It looks so good. Every one of them. Every single one of them so far. I'm always spilling myself. I got a hole in my lip. I swear to goodness. Every time I eat or anything, I just get dropping stuff on my clothes. Got my jars over here set aside. Here, I'll go ahead and put it down so you can see. I got my jars already filled, waiting to go in for the next load. So I got 3 quarts and 3 pint and a halves ready to rock and roll to go in there once the canner cools down, because these are kind of warm. Running out of counter space. I'm doing a lot of stuff. My counter's not all that wide. So all these look good. There's absolutely no siphoning on this. Let's take the top rack out. Down here, let's see. Looks good. Oh, and I didn't debubble these because there's some things it's just silly. You don't have to debubble. I mean, it's liquid. Really nice looking. Spilling everywhere. There we go. Alright guys, so how many did I get? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. My canner fits 18. So, yep. Alright guys, so I got the second one done. The second one is all done. I was watering my garden, so it's been about an hour since it was finished. So let's take these out. And so this is basically a tomato bisque soup because, I added thickener in it to create that creaminess. And then what you do is you add cream or milk. So looks really good. So these were my quart ones I put in. You can do water too, but it's not a bisque unless you add the milk or your cream. I tend to do milk because that's all I have on hand. So I'll use my canned milk and I'll show you how that is. They all look really pretty. I'll bring in and show you. Look at how pretty those are. So look at that. These tattlers are awesome. They all sealed really well. Alright, so let's make our bisque now. So we got our canned milk from the last year, basically a year ago. 6/21. We're gonna use this. Got my little pry jar. You can get it. Okay, people will say, oh, you can't get it. Yeah, you can get it. Cookwise sells it. I'm not affiliated with them. It's just I found it on Amazon through Cookwise. Okay, it's awesome because you don't damage your. Okay. That was a great seal. And a used lid for a year. Goodness. Alright, so I like to put cream or milk. Since I don't have cream, we're using milk. So let's get what did not seal. Okay, so we're going to pour all of this in here. A whole pint. Okay. Got a pint that didn't seal, and then I'm gonna just add half of the pint with milk and shake it to because I don't like to waste what's inside. So I'm going to shake it up, try to clean that out. There we go. And then add it to our pan here. And I'm going to cook it up together, okay? We're just going to go put it on the stove. I'm going to cook it up and show you the creaminess of it. Basically, I mean, cooking it doesn't change the appearance. So I'm going to whisk this up real fast. Whisk this up real fast. It's super creamy. I don't have my light on. Sorry guys, a little shadowy there. There, super creamy. Now we're gonna heat it up on the stove. I got so much on the counter, I can't even move my camera here. So I'm gonna heat it up and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so this is what it looks like in the bowl after it's heated up. And I ended up putting the whole jar of milk in because I wanted to make more. But it still has a nice creamy consistency. It's so good. Like, it's so like creamy. Let's taste it. I got a wooden spoon because tasting hot stuff on a metal spoon burn my tongue, so wooden spoons are good for this. Still pretty hot. Delicious. I probably could use more salt, but that's better than too much salt, right? So good. Oh, that's delicious. It's like super delicious. Tastes like the best tomato soup ever. Okay, y'all, so that is the best tomato soup, I must say, and it's super delicious. Even, I mean, if you don't care for salt, then it's perfect. But I like a lot of salt, so I need to add more salt. Delicious. I don't want to put too much salt in. It only needs a little tad more salt to my liking. Let's add some more salt. Let's add a little more salt. You know what? I'm going to try adding some Slap Your Mama. Has a little salt in that, a little spice with white pepper blend. Let's see how that tastes. I don't know, sometimes I like a little spice. A little spice. Let's see. It's so good. Yeah. Good stuff. Alrighty guys, so we'll just talk to you later, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.